This is a really special little cabinet, and I made it for a really special person, and that's exactly why it was so hard. So, I want to take a little bit of a different approach this week. I want to Tarantino this video. I want to start at the end and then I want to go all the way back to the beginning and walk through some of the hows that got me to that end. And I want to do that for two reasons. Number one, just because it's a little bit of a different creative approach, and shaking up kind of the creative approaches that I take is really important to me. It's what keeps me engaged. It's why I do the work that I do and why I love what I do so much. And the second reason is because I haven't had an opportunity to tell you guys some of the whys recently, some of the reasons, the thoughts behind why I make the decisions I make in my furniture. So that's what I want to talk about. So the first question that needs answering is, why am I building this cabinet in the first place? And there's really two answers to that question, but the first I already hinted at. I said that this was a really special little cabinet for a really special person. And that's absolutely true. This card that you see me measuring and building the design of the cabinet around, that was a handmade card from a friend of mine as a congratulations for recently getting engaged to my partner. And it's really just a beautiful little card. And I know my partner is pretty sentimental. And as soon as I got that card, I knew that I was going to frame it and preserve it for her. And as I sat with that idea slowly evolved from, I'm just going to build a frame and put it up on the wall, to, wouldn't it be nice if it was incorporated into a piece of furniture that I made her? Because I haven't made her a proper piece of furniture yet. And now that she's agreed to spend the rest of her life with me and put up with my absolute nonsense for the next 50 years, it feels like maybe now's the time to actually make her something nice. So the project always starts with lumber selection, and this is a thing that always takes me time, guys. If you've watched any of my work, you know that I went through the stacks, but ultimately what I ended up on was butternut, because I have a real deep affection for butternut. It's such a lovely wood to work. It's one of my favorites, if I have a favorite. So it felt like now's the time. This is the object, this is the person to use butternut on, if that makes sense. But the second reason that I built this cabinet was because my shopmate Larissa and I have another YouTube channel where we challenge each other to build interesting things in limited amounts of time, and that, well, sometimes that's really hard. I'm so used to doing overlays that it bothers me.
I'm excited that we just organically are doing each other's norm. Fight through it.
It makes me want to shift. Well, this bothers me, but that's going to hide in the dovetail up top. Well, the thing is, I do want to expose the drawer on the front, because I never do that. Mm-hmm. So I can't have an overlay, because otherwise I'll have a weird step at the drawer.
Yeah.
So there's nothing I can do. It has to be captured.
I think this is a good mental exercise.
I hate it.
Hate leads to suffering.
Yes.
I don't like it.
How can you make a frame and panel door
interesting? That's what I'm like. Do I get rid of the visual shelf as the divider so that the drawer and the door meet?
Oh.
But then I still end up with the problem of, like, the drawer face and the frame and panel, those are two juxtaposing visuals too. And if I got rid of that, maybe I could start the carving on the drawer front and carry it through the panel. I don't know. It's something, it's developing. The bones are there. I just don't like insets. This irks the shit out of me. I'm more paying attention to the grain on the sides.
Sure.
So the grain on the front just kind of does whatever it's going to do. And on this one, it's reasonable. Like, it just kind of comes up and it slightly moves out, which I like. This one, it moves up, and then up here, there was a knot here.
Yeah.
So it's scooping really hard right there.
Okay. Oh, this little guy?
Yeah. Maybe that's where I put the handle. Maybe it's a handle that overlays.
Oh yeah, a little tabby guy.
A little tabby guy. But how high up is the cabinet going to be too? I guess it can't be very high up because there's a drawer.
Yeah.
So it's a small enough cabinet where the drawer has to be able to look down into, so it's not a big reach to do that.
No.
And Sarah and I are the same height. She's not taller than me.
Oh, you're recording that. Wow.
We are, you can ask her, we are the same height.
Okay. No one cares about your masculine need to be taller, all right?
This is the worst.
It's
No one
not,
cares.
I'm
No one
not
cares.
uncomfortable with it. I'm just stating facts. We are the same height. We are both 5'12".
No one cares.
I do like the idea of having a little tabby there.
There you go. Are we warming up to the idea of frame and panel?
No. As I'm sure you all know, making YouTube videos requires a lot of time sitting in a computer, and I've never really been one for long periods of sitting at a desk. I mean, if you saw my report cards as a young person, you would know that they are not favorable, which is why one of my favorite recent additions to my office has been the E7 standing desk from FlexiSpot, the sponsor of this week's video. That's right, baby, they're back for round 2. The E7 standing desk has a robust 4-legged frame, making it substantially more stable than a traditional 2-legged standing desk, especially when operating at full height. Typical 2-leg standing desks have a weight capacity of around 200 to 250 pounds. Its design constraints generally limit their load-bearing capacity. But FlexiSpot's 4-legged standing desks are more stable, and I can attest to this. This thing genuinely feels as rock solid as just about any desk I've built myself, and it can support up to 540 pounds. And it has a height adjustment range of 26 to 51.5 inches, the highest of any 4-legged design you can buy. Plus it offers excellent value for the price. It's budget-friendly compared to other standing desk options, which can cost thousands, plus it has a 15-year warranty. And with a digital keypad featuring 4 programmable presets, I'm able to move from sitting to standing at the touch of a button. I actually use all 4 settings, 2 for work heights, one that's low enough to put my legs up and lean back, and another that's just high enough to tuck my chair under at the end of the day. So don't miss out on the chance to get your own E7 Plus 4-leg standing desk. FlexiSpot's Brand Day and Memorial Day are coming soon. On May 19th and May 26th, the first 20 customers to place an order have a chance to get it 100% free. So click the link below and use my code YTE7P50 for $50 off. And thanks to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this week's video. So when I say things like woodworking is hard, what I mean by that is the time, the energy, the thought that you put into an object might not get recouped in the final object. And I don't necessarily exclusively mean that financially. So if you sell the object, you're probably not going to get paid for all of the hours you sat there and thought about all of the dumb things you just heard me talk with Larissa about how the grain at the top of the cabinet bends too far to the left, so it bothers my eye that it's not running vertically. About how the frame and panel of the door meets the flat front of the drawer face and how those two things are incongruous. About should I carve the drawer front and have that run up through the panel? Or is there a drawer that runs out and breaks those two up visually? Like all of these small decisions that come into play to make hopefully what is a really good object, you're probably not getting paid for. But finances aside, one of the difficult things about what we do as woodworkers is that sometimes we are the artist and sometimes we are but the canvas makers. And in this particular case, this entire object is a vehicle for that card. Every decision that I struggled with, that I agonized over about this cabinet, should hopefully all fade into the background so that when you look at it, the card is the thing that draws your attention because that's the thing that has all of the emotional weight. So we have to maintain some level of humility about what we do and recognize when we're not the stars of the show so that we can do our job successfully. And that means by definition that all of the decisions that we're worried about probably won't come through in the final piece. But some of them probably will, or at least be nodded to and give a feeling. So one of those decisions that I think was really important in spite of myself and my time limitations was to dovetail this cabinet. And the reason is this. This card represents me and my partner getting engaged. And obviously, hopefully getting married and staying married for a long while. That's the aim. And while I could have mitered this cabinet to save time, I could have done just the sandwiched top and bottom that I do so often in cabinets. I knew from the beginning in my heart of hearts that that wasn't the right decision, because there's something about dovetails. And don't get me wrong, I do think dovetails are overrated, especially early on in our journeys. But there is something about dovetails that it just feels secure. It feels attended to. It feels forever, you know? I know I'm not saying it well, but I also know you know what I'm saying. There's a sense of being cared for and thought out and given the proper amount of time that it deserves that are displayed through dovetails. And that vibe is the vibe that this card deserves. That thoughtfulness is the thoughtfulness that this cabinet deserves because of the emotional weight of the whole thing. So sometimes you just got to take the slow boat to China. Now, I know I've been waxing poetic a lot in this video, but in fairness, I did warn you that that's what this video was about. I said at the very beginning, I said this was a video about the why. So if you're this far into the video and are confused, this is why I'm not telling you what I'm doing. I don't know how to help you with that one, my guy. But I do want to give you, I don't know that it's practical advice, but I want to give you a little insight that I just recently got. And it was brilliant, and I've been sitting with it ever since. I went up to Maine to have a sit-down interview with my former teacher, Aled Lewis, who is a brilliant furniture maker and one of the best teachers I've ever had. And I aim to emulate him every time I teach. But here's what he said to me. He said, "Good design is the articulation of one significant thought." And you know, Aled has been blowing my mind for, 13 years now? But as I sat with that, as I drove all the way home from Maine, and I've been sitting with it in the, whatever it's been, week and a half since, I've not been able to parse it in any way to suggest that it's not exactly right. And as I'm looking at this cabinet right now, as I'm editing this video and thinking about what that one significant thought was, I mean, it's about my partner, right? It is, I understand, and thankfully she understands that my love language is making objects for the people that I love. And that object, this object, that card, the dovetails, the thought that went into the proportions. I'm not saying it's a great object. It has its limitations, and certainly if I had more time, there were things that I would have done differently. But as a complete object, it's pretty good because it's entirely reliant on this card. It's very clear when you approach the cabinet, when you open the cabinet and you engage with it, that the whole thing is built around that card, and it's built to encompass that card and display it and keep it safe simultaneously. And so I think it works. I think it's a good cabinet. And making this little bit right here, this was, I will say this, a challenge, because I had simply intended to create a fill and glue the card to the backer and glue the backer into the front panel. And then Sarah hit me with at the last moment that she wants me to make it removable so that she can take the card out and read it. So I had to rethink that entire thing on a limited budget and a limited time. But it ended up working quite nicely using those magnets. But looking at the door, looking at the composition as a whole, I mean, look, I do my best not to judge whether my work is good or bad or pretty or ugly. I don't know that that's helpful for me at this stage of my career to judge. I try to judge whether or not it is a success, that what I set out to do is completed. And there are really three things I set out to do at the beginning of this project. I set out to make a cabinet in 24 hours, and that happened ish. It might have been like 25, 26 hours, but it is a cabinet. I set out to display this card in a functional way that gave my partner a way to look at it every day, to be reminded of that day, of the fact that she agreed to marry me, and make an object that brings a smile to her face. And I know the last happened because I saw it. So I think that is a success. I feel like it's a success. I feel good about it. Cheers, friends.